hot. Yes, yes.
Yeah, both Matvey and myself are both or both of us in London. I think here is hotter than in Romania, and we are doing the British style kind of. We talk about weather, roads. Start the discussion. Um, I'll introduce Matvey because he's going to be the presenter today. Um, and I'm going to support with the facilitation. The purpose for us on this kind of sessions, a reminder for us, these sessions are meant to have somebody who talks a bit, potentially a little bit of theory, a little bit of demo, but the intention it is for us to start discussing, start sharing, start to learn from each other. That's the gist behind the AI Talks events. All the time we have somebody who steers the discussion. So ask questions, there are no stupid questions, there are only questions. Some people may know a little bit more about the topic, some people may know less. Don't be shy, ask questions. And that's how we learn. And all the time from all these events, the biggest value, it didn't necessarily come from the people who presented, but from these discussions. Yeah, so our role it is to just to steer up these discussions. A bit about Matvey. So he's a co-founder. You're a co-founder or founder?
Co-founder. I call
Co-founder.
it co-founder. Yeah.
Of product map. Actually, product map, Ciprian, I don't see that you are here. Ciprian was he was a mentor in one of the programs, and he discovered your product. He popularized it within the community, and we started to get in touch with you, and we did a bit of partnership. And the other a few weeks ago, started discussing, yeah, we are doing a bit of a pivot on AI. Let's start to discuss on what can we do initially. I said, okay, we have a nice event, maybe we can do it. And here we are. So I'm going to stop talking. Matvey, please.
Actually, I'm so excited to join you today. So, as I just said, we partnered almost 1 year ago with the product makers and Chipper, and he was our early adopter. I'm so glad to see people joining us today. I prepared some materials for you, obviously just 10 slides. Everything else I'll try to keep very practical, keep the live demo. If you can share your experience in the chat, it will also help me to navigate my talk. So what kind of level of seniority you are, how new to context engineering you are. So it will help me just to understand better what basics I need to cover, what I'm going to present today. So feel free to leave any comments in the chat. I'll open it right now so I will be able to see that. And we'll
I'll keep an eye on the questions as well. So I'll support that.
It's so hot today. Even my lamp just recently died. So you've seen maybe it's disappeared, but I'll try to keep everything very hot today. So the topic itself is very hot. We've seen that a lot of product managers, they're engaging with different techniques, usually more popular in the software engineering, but context engineering became the fundamental learning and fundamental skill that you can apply to your daily tasks. Obviously, the main idea coming from the problem that when you don't have structured context, when you don't have many information prepared for your LLMs, then you will face the fundamental issues. If you're sharing the wrong context with your agents, then you're getting wrong results. I'll cover some fundamental things, how you can think about the content engineering and how you can implement it for different product management processes, because obviously the topic is so broad, so we can focus on very specific use cases that we want to optimize or automate in our daily routine processes. At the same time, I want to bring some demonstration how we do that, how we manage our context, and I'll share some templates with you. Obviously, they are public, so I prepared all of them, so you can start using them from the day one. And yeah, obviously, different teams do it differently. There is nothing wrong in the ways how you're doing that. Feel free to share your experience. I'll pause sometimes to have a discussion with you. So if you've got some ideas, if you've got some experience, feel free to jump in and share your own thoughts. So, as I said, just a few slides to begin with. What's the main goal for becoming agentic PM and what does it mean? So we as PMs, we've got many tasks. So the product lifecycle is so huge. We covering everything from the strategy till the delivery and supporting our products. And that's why we need to find some areas as a bottlenecks of what we want to optimize. Imagine like traditionally we've been doing our tasks maybe manually, we've been writing things, we've been processing tons of information manually, but if we do it more than one time, then obviously we should asking questions: can we optimize it, can we build some agentic system that helps us to do it automatically, or maybe we're using repeatable systems that are scheduled, or maybe automated, and we just orchestrating the results. We are checking them, and we are running agents when we want them to execute. And previously, we've seen that product managers, they've been focusing on a very specific tasks. Different companies, different industries, even product management all over the world is different, but at the same time there were some responsibilities and they still exist. But sometimes we see that boundaries are changing, so product managers taking some tasks from product designers, marketers, sales, and they contribute to the cross-functional teams, not only with a product management expertise, but sometimes take some tasks on themselves. Let's take as an example analytics. So we just recently did a collaboration with a mix panel, maybe you know them, but they see that product managers, aka product builders, joining their tools and using their tools more often. So they see the switch from different roles, and product managers' responsibilities are extending. And previously, we've been, as a product manager, let's say 3 years ago, 5 years ago, we've been more, let's say, uh, focus on the results from different teams. So sometimes we've been blocked, but right now with the AI, we can produce our own tools, prototypes, and run the experimentation quicker, because the whole point of the product manager is to find new opportunities and deliver them to the production, to the end users, so you can see how well they actually perform. And what we facing when we're using different agents, whatever you're using, ChatGPT, Claude Code, Gemini, or any other tools, you obviously see that if you do it more often and you launch some different tasks, you have some fundamental knowledge that could be helpful to all of them. And it's a really common thing to start building your product context in one place, so all agents across the whole product management lifecycle can use this context. So in I think at the end of April we launched the first agentic product management framework. It's called Task, and the whole idea under this framework was to bring some structure so you can build your own agentic processes based on fundamental pillars. Four of them. So Task is abbreviation of topics, agent, skills, and knowledge, and I'll explain how the system works. So in the product management, we've got very broad set of topics. All of them, they are very well-known frameworks. Maybe there are so many templates or practices that we can use. And topics, it's a knowledge that exists in the industry. So many materials you can find and use in your agentic systems. Let's take as an example, prioritization frameworks. And you can apply this knowledge and you can teach your agents that use these fundamental templates or methodologies in order to execute tasks properly. Obviously, agents, I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. It starts with the simple assistants that you build for yourselves. it moves toward some pipelines or automated very complex processes. Doesn't matter. So they all interconnected here, and agents can use topics, and obviously they've got skills and knowledge. So that's a second part of the task framework. We can think about skills. Obviously, skills, agentic skills, you can build your own, you can define what skill is, but it's a very abstract word. So you can create skill, you can create skill of skills. It's also a very abstract way of thinking. But if you apply the slightly different approach to them, if you think about your agent as a co-worker, then your agent is another PM. So what PM could do? They've got some PM competences, PM skills, and they've got some ways how they do their product management job. Which means that if you take one single PM as an example, what regular PM should know and should be able to do, then you can apply these skills to your agents and they will start using them as a goal. So your goal is to understand your customer. Your goal is to define some product strategy or link it somehow with business objectives and KPIs. And that becomes a major change here because it's not just the agent that does something, it's got some, let's say, structure how it works and some specific results and goals that they need to achieve. And the final thing, that's all why we are here, knowledge. So obviously, if you share the right knowledge with your agents, if you optimize the way how tokens consumed and how you structure your knowledge, if you version control it, then it becomes more LLM friendly and you can use your knowledge by agents. You can also share it with your team so everyone can use the same knowledge and use the same artifacts and documents that you prepared, but they all are ready for different agents. So I'll briefly cover. So, I mean, so many different topics. I'll give you just an example of what could be a topic because, for example, in the product map, we've got more than 60 topics published. They all have so many frameworks behind them. They all got many materials that helps to fuel the agent. But let's assume that you're in a very strategic phase where you're just defining your product strategy. So what topic could be here? So business model generation. And what it is, it's a template, right? So many templates. One from Alexander Osterwalder, another one from Ashmaruya. They all help you to define business model. But if you use these materials in your agent, if you put this knowledge into the agent, then they will help you to achieve the very, let's say, formatted results. Or as an example, you've got market research topic. So many ways how you can research the market. So many ways how you can analyze your competitors and applying very specific techniques to your agents or sub-agents. I'll explain a bit later what it is, will help you to achieve better results. So put some industry knowledge under your agent and you will get some tangible outcomes and you will expect very formatted output. Will help you to actually create a chain of agents so you can reuse market research in order to identify some opportunities, product opportunities later, in order to prioritize your backlog, in order to define your product requirement document and build it at the end. So kind of chain of agents as an example. So what is the agent in terms of understanding how it works? So if you take different LLMs, Claude, GPT, Gemini, Mistral, whatever you're using, maybe Perplexity or Cursor, its own model, its own composer model, they've got their own constraints, and we should understand that the memory of the agent is quite small, so you can extend the memory super fast. That's why any context that you are preparing, you should always keep an eye on the size of the context that you're putting into the agent. Because agents should keep some space for the task itself, because if it consumes tokens during the market research, then obviously the subset of the context that you're sharing should be smaller. And the prompt itself, the instructions for the agent, or whatever way you're structuring your agents, it could be a goal-based agent, doesn't matter. So you still will consume some tokens. And how it works in terms of agents and sub-agents. If you take, let's say, as an example, Claude, right? You can spawn an agent, and this agent will spawn sub-agents that execute very small tasks. Imagine that you need to analyze 10 competitors, and you're trying to understand their pricing module from their pricing web page. So obviously, it's more efficient way to execute this task in terms of, let's say, speed, to spawn sub-agents for each competitor. They all process the pages. At the end, the orchestrator, the main agent, receives results from them in a structured format, and after that, build your final report. The way how you can structure your skills is very different. Is very different to all teams. So you can define your own structure. I'll cover the skills repository itself today. I'll show you how you can do that, how you can reuse existing skills, what are available in the market, so many public skills available. But in general, you're always applying these skills to some specific skills or tasks that you do as a product manager. So your skill could be business model generation, product market fit analysis, and so on. It's your choice what actions you need to perform. And that's why I'm sharing this skill model with you. So we've got 15 product management skills as a generic structure. So we put together the assessment that we even released with and announced with the product makers almost a year ago. But we can use this radar, skill radar, as an example of all agents that we need to build in order to bring some agentic processes into your product management work. So I'll briefly cover them. 5 groups: product, customer, analytics, process, and people. So I'll start with people because I believe as a product managers we should work with people more, and it's still our main task to coordinate cross-functional teams. So optimizing your processes around communication and working with the different teams, let's say building the pipeline that helps to get your the transcription from AI note taker and use it in your context repository, whatever the interview, let's say the meeting is all about. It could be the interview with your customer, or it could be a call from customer support, or it's internal meeting with the stakeholders. So communication could be improved with AI, and you can build some tools that helps you to spread the information across your stakeholders and publish the materials to keep them informed. So that's one of the skills. And I'll briefly cover the whole radar. So team leadership, whatever helps you to improve team processes. People development, I think that we can apply and should apply AI in order to properly do the people management, help team the grow. Next, product, strategic impact, all what is about defining your vision, strategy. Next, business goals ownership and aligning your product vision with the business goals. And product discovery, very basic process. We all know that it's a very complex task for us and major priority for new products. User experience, everything around design, building the digital experiences. Also, understanding the voice of your customer helps to keep an eye on your ICP, on your persona, and actually keeping your target audience very well defined, like a persona card, helps to use this context by multiple agents because it's all done for users, right? So we should keep it somewhere close to the multiple agents. Product marketing, messaging, the way how we position ourselves for sales, some scripts. So that also could be done. And the whole analytics part, so even it's internal, like a stakeholder management, and when you're analyzing some different requests from different departments, measuring progress and KPI, working with the data, filling the data, getting this data, building some dashboards on top of this data. That's all in analytics group of skills. And final thing is processes. So I've seen many teams starting their AI adoption with a product delivery. So they've got their the routine tasks that they want to improve, and everything around backlog management and planning your sprints, running some general agile or Kanban practices. Doesn't matter what processes you've got. Obviously, people trying to optimize this area, and sometimes even we're saying that software engineering is solved, but so many things how you transition materials from one team to the software team, also I mean engineering team, also the ways how you can share some experiences between them. So that's sometimes worth optimizing, and that's why sometimes big PMs they become more technical. So they are building products by themselves. I knew that so many teams they even measured how many tokens PMs consume against the engineering team, and the PMs are very close to the software engineers. And the last thing, why we're all here, it's all about building your knowledge. So knowledge starts with a very blank repository. So you can take whatever tooling you want. People use different ways how they structure their context. But I think the main objective for the knowledge is to keep just enough so you don't need to put everything in your project knowledge. And the second thing is you want to manage an access so everyone in your team can use that. Because if you're one PM and you don't need to share your context with anyone, it sounds like you've got a very small team and maybe you don't need this complexity. But if it's the team is growing, if other PMs are joining, or you've got a group of teams who are contributing, which contributing to the bigger business goals, then obviously you've got some practices, you've got some knowledge that you want to share across different teams. I'll give you an example. So we've been in touch with one team, and they've got multiple sub products, separate cross-functional teams, and they all shipping their product updates. But when we ask them where guys you store your business goals and general OKRs, they told us they saw it on Confluence. And I asked how many teams gotten access, how many people seen these OKRs, and I've been impressed that it's private. Only SLT team can access OKRs. So senior leadership team has an access, team don't have access to OKRs. And the next question is how you prioritize, how you define your product goals, how you define your objectives if you don't have a link to the bigger business goals and objectives that business sets. How do you track these KPIs then? So many questions, but if you've got some fundamental things about your company, then obviously it must be shared because otherwise it can't be reused. So that's the main point. So it's a last slide actually from me. I want to share how you can apply task to building your own agents and building your own process. So it all starts from closed loop of agentic processes. Maybe you already know what it is. I can explain in the simple details, but everything what I explained creates a simple task agentic pipeline. So you define the topic, which leads to very specific materials, outputs, and formats that you want to receive. So let's take business model as an example, right? So we take how we think about the business model, we take the format, we take the template, and put it inside the agent. Next, we define the task, goal for the agent, what it should achieve, and we use skills in order to define the tangible outcomes and define some, let's say, judgment for the agent, what will help to achieve the better results. And if agent knows what exactly will be the good result for it, then it executes better or executes until the task is done and the final criteria are achieved. And the best practice is when the end of each when the which each agent runs the cycle, it builds the knowledge. So you don't need to think about context, let's say engineering, and something that you do more often. You need to spend a lot of time on building and structuring your knowledge. It's not the way how it works. You can build your knowledge with each run. So every time when you launch an agent, it updates the knowledge, it updates instructions for itself in order to improve the next iteration. So I'll give you an example, just simple one before we'll cover different use cases. Let's assume that you are running agent that identifies some opportunities from customer interviews, and you've got some transcripts somewhere, and you've got your persona, and you've got your backlog. So somehow at the end of the agent you run, you should have a new backlog or new opportunities in your backlog. So, what could be the end final result? Obviously, some new opportunities your backlog. But as a side effect, you can update your ICP card if you learn something new from these interviews, if you've seen something from these transcripts that changes the persona. Maybe you can find new personas in new segments if it's completely new segment, or you can update the let's say your document that explains what are key let's say messages that we deliver across multiple channels, because sometimes we use user quotes or customer quotes in order to push very specific message. So it all starts with the building your knowledge. I want to pause here and ask a question to you. So how do you manage your knowledge today? So where it's stored? I leave any questions in the chat. If you want to jump in, share, please unmute and jump in. I know that people using multiple tools, and that's why sometimes it's very tool specific. Notion MCP into cloud. Actually, the most common answer. Quick question. Do you manually approve the updates the agents make to itself at the end of the one loop, or they automatically approved? Someone confidence. Eugene, I'll pick your question. So it depends on the agent, but usually we approve all changes through the PR because we use Git, and I'll show you the approach that we're using. Obviously, if you run some agents with a Notion or Confluence, you can also version control changes there, but you will not have many ways how you can approve them. And actually, the worst thing is wait until your agent will do things, will get things done. And after that review, what they did for you, sometimes it's just too time consuming. So we're using Git, and if something requires an approval, we are managing updates through the pull request. So you can check the pull request, you can see what agent proposed, and after that improve your context. So MD files in Obsidian. Ooh, that's a good one. So it's already better than Notion and Confluence. Mihai, if something like nowhere, it means it still exists somewhere, even if it's a my report or your presentation from the demo, or I don't know about your product, like say product pitch, whatever you've got. But good news is that you still got some context somewhere. So the next question is how you can prepare and process it in order to use more efficiently. So Theodore says some in ClickUp, but not that I not that I like, but in here did it. Cool. All right.
I have a question.
Yeah, please, please.
So you mentioned managing the context across a team in GitHub. So engineers are familiar with GitHub. Easy for engineers to do it. How do you see other people who are not so technical adopting? What it is the learning curve for GitHub?
That was the whole plan for the event today. So I know that so many product managers, they don't have a basic understanding of Git, but it's not so hard. I'll give you an example. So we've got a marketing specialist in our team. She asked me where I can get the latest positioning. I said to her, in Git. And what I need is just to share some file with her. because it's also, let's say, very simple tooling. So you don't need to be a software engineer in order to get an access of, let's say, specific file in Git. Maybe, yeah, the branching, commits, and everything sounds complex, but so many tools, they done it very easy to use. So you can even use AI in order to help you with Git. Good news is that Git as a concept was very well documented. There are so many books, like a Git book available on all languages. I believe you can find Git book on Romanian. It exists, and so basic concepts are well explained. But I know that there are so many other ways how you can do it without Git. I will share some fundamental things today because Git is closer to the engineering. So that's why it's maybe the best way how you can do that. And also the permission model is very, let's say, mature. So you don't need to think about what people could see, how they can write or manage changes. So you can set up however you want it, or even provide some detailed access to specific parts, splitting the context onto multiple context repositories and managing permissions there. So
Thank you. We have Teodora as well with
yeah,
raised
please.
hand.
Yeah, so good question this with Git. I also use Git, but I have a technical background. But I was wondering because, for example, in my setup, I also have some knowledge which I keep only for myself. And not because I don't want to share it, but there are some public, let's say, files, but are also some files which I need for myself in order to generate in a particular way some files or,
Yes.
something that has more like personality and is more related to how I operate. So I didn't see this in your presentation and was wondering if you
I'll show it. So
Have it.
oh, I've got the same thing. So I've got many personal stuff that is not linked with the project itself, with the
yeah.
product itself. And it's great to have a separate repository that you can integrate into your environment, whatever environment you're using, and just use it in the same workspace. I'll show it, and actually, it's the way how you connect multiple repositories in one place and reuse whatever you want to use. So if you I would suggest to keep separate product knowledge repository for the team and what you want to share, and your personal, let's say, sandbox or your personal draft repository where some things been developed. And after that one is ready, you just put it in a shared repository and allow the whole team members to access it. All right. But even if you've got technical background, if you know how to use Git from the day one, it's an advantage, I would say, because you can build some processes and explain others how they can use that. All right, so just I'll pick a few questions and we'll continue because, yeah, I said I've got only 10 slides, everything else just a live demo. So I'll show how we're doing things, I show you how to set up things, and actually how you can create multiple projects, how you can reuse it across different things. So that was my plan for today. Eugen, and what about configuring the self-improvement process? Do you have some tips for configuring this in order to get good results? We can cover that. So I didn't plan too much to explain how I build agents because I've got so many of them. They are sometimes very specific. So I've got some of them published as a templates. I've got some of them specific to product map, but we can show that. So basically it's an instruction that you can create for your agent and you just provide very specific sections there. When I've hit the Git wall, I found that there is a Git desktop app that makes things a bit more intuitive for me. Exactly. Or I can show it today. So that was my plan for beginners. Another thing that could help you if you're using any tool like Cursor, VS Code, they're all the same because they're all based on the VS Code. So there are some simple things how you can manage Git flow there. So it was planned. So let me share my setup first. So sometimes when I'm showing how I set up things for myself, it already explains to you many things. So obviously, yeah, I'll show you. You can use Claude app, you can use Codex app, You can use VS Code, whatever tools you've got. So everything is up to you. I'm showing my setup because it's the best way how I can run multiple agents, how I can do automated agents. And I think the main and the message from me, you should not have a vendor lock. So if something goes wrong, you should be able to switch from Claude to Codex to Gemini to Cursor or any other model in order to continue doing your tasks. So that's why my setup is vendor agnostic completely. So what I've got here, I'm using Cursor, so it's a main tool for myself. I've got the same setup with anti-gravity from Google, and I've got the same setup with a VS Code, but it's a very fundamental thing, so they're all the same. Why I did multiple IDEs for myself? Because again, I want to run multiple agents, multiple in parallel. So usually I run from 5 to 10 agents in the same time, and that's why I need an environment where I will control all of them. So it's my panel where I want to see all of them. How you can install them? You install separate apps, so you will have Claude, you will have Codex, you will have Gemini all in one place, and after that you install multiple plugins. So these plugins, they are coming from VS Code marketplace, so they all free. And after that, what you can do, you can have codecs here. So I set up some pins for myself. So I've got the codecs on in the left sidebar. I've got Claude somewhere, and I've got Cursor with many models, so I can also switch them and execute multiple things and compare results from different models. So what you need to do that? So my setup costs me less than $100. So I didn't count the total price, but the most expensive subscription is for Claude. Everything else is quite cheap, I would say. So then you will need a repository of workspace where you will have your repository. So I'll show you how to set up it. And good news is that you can bring multiple repositories in one place. So you can reuse the context that you prepared. You can reuse your skills repositories between different repositories. So how you can do that? Do you see my screen? So what I'm sharing, right? So you see the window. You can
Yes.
add folders into your workspace, and let's assume that you've got a front-end application. So a very simple one, it's just an example, right? You've got your context repository, and now you've got your engineering repository close to your context repository. If you take, let's say, I'll give you a simple example. Maybe you've got one pager, right? If you've got one pager of your about your product, right? So now I see that I can get this context from my repository, right? So it's my context repository. And what I can do next, I can actually run some tasks in the front end repository because I've got both of them in one setup. So imagine that I've got, let me find some simple TypeScript. Yeah, just main TypeScript, maintain script file. So now you see that my Cursor agent sees front end file, and it also can use this file in order to update it using the context one pager. And that's how you connect your engineering with your context repository. You can reuse skills from multiple repositories. So for example, if you've got Claude skill, let's show one example. Agile Scrum delivery. Oh, sorry, I don't want to start that. Wait, stop. I think it just will pause in a second. But yeah, now you can run your agent with a repository. Wait, it just because workspace updated. Yeah, so one pager. Sorry, how was a one pager without backspace? Yeah, one pager. You can use skill Agile, Scrum delivery. And commit changes to the repository from the front end, right? So I'm using main test as an example. Wait, test. Oh, just my test 6. And you connect multiple repositories in one place. So basically, Theodora, that's an answer how you can keep your personal repository and the shared repository. I've got my own personal one that I add here and I use it, but I don't make it public to anyone. So if I want to keep my personal stuff there, I don't know, my bills, what I'm paying, or the accounting materials that I've got from HRMC, I keep them the all context there. And actually, it will not be used by other teams, but you can use it, just simply adding it as a folder to your workspace. Does it make sense? Anyone?
Yeah, makes sense. Maybe you'll explain this, but I'm curious, when you start prompting, you just give it directly the sources with no other context, or are you going to?
That's my next thing. So what
Okay,
I want to
sorry.
share. No, 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 no. That's the actually the best question because that was in my agenda. So the next question, do I need to prompt all these files every time? So do I need to actually remember all these files that I keep in my product knowledge context? Actually, the answer is no. The simple answer is in product map we build the bot, an agent that actually maintains your repository and maintains the indexing of all your materials. So I'll give you an example. So in general, you've got all your materials in one place, and what other tools like Obsidian does for you, they all trying to keep in a, let's say, simple format explanation what documents and what materials you've got there, and after that using this indexing in order to finding the proper context. So sometimes it's just an example. It doesn't have many context in place. So it's a public repository that we put as a template, so everyone can use that. And for some cases, I think for the ICP, or maybe for some of them, we put some templates so you can reuse them. It doesn't matter. So the whole point for now is just to show you the structure. So I'll show you my repositories later, but this one is a template so everyone can copy that. So what happens when you start your first repository? You need to specify the structure that will allow you to extend your context with no additional costs on that. The public template that I've been sharing contains the setup for Claude, Codex, Gemini, as top three LLMs that everyone use, and a structure of the knowledge repository. But this repository could be done automatically by product map once you set up your blank Git repository. So that's what I'm about to show you later. Next, we set up some templates for you. We set up some context that need to be published. We've got some agents that actually supply this content to your knowledge repository. But you can, if you want to quick start, you start your repository from scratch and you set up your agents by yourself, or you just use template and after that you put the proper structure, put the right instructions to your Claude MD file, to your skills, and so on and so forth. So that all will be available. But good news is that when you want a quick solution, when you don't want to spend a lot of time on that, then you just clone this repository and use it as a template. So that's one of the options. But I'll show you the complex one, how to start from scratch. Good news is not so complex. And first of all, I want to explain different permissions that you can have in the GitHub. Obviously, there are so many tools, GitLab, they all similar, so you will find the same buttons there. But in general, so I'll show you my Git. So I've got my personal Git where I publish my own repository. Some of them are public, some of them are private. My Git is from 2012. So I'm quite let's say active, I would say. You can set up your organization. So if you've got your product team or if you've got your engineering team, I believe they already got the organization. So you can create the repository there. And you don't want to create your personal repository. But if you want to start and build your personal repository, then use your own profile and create repository there. So all what you need is just to specify repository name, git ignore, which was already in the comments, and readme file. It will help agents to navigate your repository later. So and then you will have an access. Obviously, it will be very limited. I've got multiple organizations. So one is for this demo. So this one is Graphica. You can create a repository in your organization. So and then only everyone who sees this organization will be able to access these repositories. Or you can specify who from your team will be able to see the results. I put here product makers context. I'll put here the simple repository name. So put the default README file, put the git ignore. I usually put Python because I use a lot of web technologies and Python. And that's more than enough. Again, if you want to start using different templates, you can use template. It's up to you. The true path is through doing everything from scratch. So now you've got repository. I want to show you how you can quickly have it locally. So if you're using Cursor or VS Code, they will allow you to clone a repository from the GitHub. So everything what you will need to provide, if you already authenticated in Cursor, then it will see all repositories. And you can see that Product Makers is now here. So another quick way how you can do that is to download the GitHub desktop application. Again, it installs Git on your local computer and also allow you to clone different repositories locally, and after that you can access them. So where did I put it? I put it in the graphic organization, but I believe that I will just clone the existing repository, and here I will search for product makers. Yeah, that's over here. Again, I'm just clicking buttons. No technical experience is required to set up the proper repository locally. If you've got any questions, I can stop here, but feel free to pause me if you've got any specific ones. I see the question from Daniel. Do you think Cowork will be an alternative to CC and VS Code? Actually, that's a very good question. Obviously, you can set up your project in Cowork, you can set up skills there, but it will only allow you to do things that are published in your project, skills that have been shared. And actually, what I've seen when people do everything in a Cowork, they are very limited with their capabilities. So at the end, you want to run some scripts, let's say Python scripts, and you don't have it there. Obviously, you can wrap it in a skill and execute it inside the skill, but it's token consumption that doesn't give you anything. So I would say that at some point of time, Cowork will become the easiest way how you can do your project repository with skills and some additional tools. But remember, I started with a very simple goal. I want to be vendor agnostic. I don't want to focus on one tool, one solution like Claude Code. And when Claude is down, sorry, just wait until they will solve it. It's not the way how I want this to work. So that's why I don't rely a lot on tools like Cowork. I believe that you should set up everything so it should be scalable, and when next cloud appears, you are ready to switch from one tool to another and use that. So if it makes
Yeah.
some sense, yeah.
May I add something?
Yeah, please, please.
Daniel, Cowork is actually, it is a subset of Cloud Code. It is the same thing underneath. It is just running in a sandbox, just to make sure that the people are not messing things up on
100%.
their machine. It's targeted, I would say, towards enterprise to make sure that they are giving kind of something safer to play. If you, I would say, if you are comfortable with Cowork, don't be afraid of that word code in Cloud Code. It is the same, it's just a little bit more powerful. And you don't need to use the IDE as Matvey is using or terminal. Just go in the Cloud desktop app. It has improved. It's not the best, but it is much better than it was in the past. And you can do quite
100%.
a lot of things over there. And the setup that you have over there, you are still going to be a little bit locked. But you are having a nicer path towards, yeah, and I agree with what Matvey is saying. Uh, let's try not to be uh, tools locked.
100%. And what could be also an advantage here, if you start with a co-work and setting up your project there, it's still some sort of folder with some skills. If you want to upgrade to what I'm showing today, it will be very easy to use. So what I'll give you an example. So my girlfriend, she's a brand manager and she doesn't want to use this Git, but they started in a co-work in their brand team. At some point of time, they had everything in place, and in order to start using Git and upgrade to other LLMs and remove the vendor lock, all what you need is to set up a repository in already existing folder, which is just another button that you need to click. And at some point of time, it becomes available to everyone, so you can again reuse what you already done there and just migrate it to the different process, right? So it's actually a good start. So I would suggest to start with starting with a cohort. All right, so I want to show some cool stuff. So when I'm just setting up everything, I'll put everything in my Git folder. I put everything in one place. So now I want to open this repository. So now we should have the product maker's blank repository. And let me show you how simple, let's say, Git flow works. So I'll create a new file. I'll call it Claude manually. Never did it manually, but I'll show you the way how it could be done. So test. Um, when I'm changing something, I'm doing changes locally. If you understand how Git works, so it collects all changes and it allows you to keep all changes saved. And after that, if you want to revert them or change very specific file, you can stage them. So by default, you've got main branch, and everything what is in main should be a master data. So even if you're organizing a team access, if you want to keep everything as a latest version, approved version, put it inside the main branch. If you're doing some changes and you are alone, feel free to push these changes to your main branch without any approval because you're the only one who administrating them. But if you want to organize the teamwork, then I would suggest adding branches to everything what you're doing. So the simple Git flow for you will be to create new branch and call it, I don't know, context new branch. And now everything what you will do will be stored in this branch and your main still stays the same. So init file. You can use AI generated commits, so you don't need to spend a lot of time on that. I'm just showing the way how it works. So I'll save all changes and just commit them and publish this branch. So what happens next in terms of Git flow? Again, very fundamental things. when you open your GitHub, you see that there is a new branch called context new. I just recently did it. And you can create a pull request. So pull request is the way how you can see what was changed and approve it by different team members. If it's you've got someone who needs to review these changes, you will be able to pass their review. And again, doesn't matter what tool you're using, GitHub, GitLab, or any other alternatives. I know that some people who are using Atlassian stack, they've got how's it called, a Bitbucket. So it's again another tool for the Git, let's say, Git tool in general. So now you see that I changed the new file. I added one line. So if you want to merge that, so usually you can squash all your commits if you've made multiple commits in one change, and it will be available in main. So now it's still in my branch, the one that I've created. Main is untouched, so it's still the same. I'll give you a quick demo. So the latest commit was initial commit 9 minutes ago. If I close this pull request, if I prove this change, then my main will be updated. And yeah, it's updated now. I can see that there are 2 commits in my simple repository. So what actually makes some sense to do next? To set up the structure for your repository. Again, you can copy the template that I did. We've got very specific tool in the product map. When you start new project, you can specify the basic context by product map, and it will set up the whole structure for you, and also it will maintain the structure and will be able to update it if you're running multiple AI agents that we provide. But let's assume that I'm starting a new project. Actually, I did it for the purpose. I've got a friendly startup that I will use as an example. I'll use a website as a simple draft that will allow my agents to understand some fundamentals about my product. And it takes a few seconds to get the basic understanding. All right, so what we see is the basic context about the Graphica, friendly startup again, and we can start new project. So now what happens next? If you connect the product map with existing repository, it will set up the whole structure for you automatically. And after that, product map agent will be able to update that as well. So I'll just connect it with the product maker's repository, the one that we recently created. And what happens next? You see that in your project context, GitHub connection appeared. I open it here, and you will see that product map creates the folder dot product map, which will put some basic context that we understood from the web page and generate all files for you. So some of them, as I said, they've got some templates, so you can easily update them later. So, but we are working on that in order to bring more templates here. But what happens next in your folder or in your repository? Now you've got the whole setup. So the setup of folders, and what's more important, the index file that after that will navigate to the very specific context that's stored there. So for example, if you need your latest backlog, if you need to pull your tickets, then you just update your files there. And at the end, index will be updated with some explanation what context is stored there. So when you're starting, there are no information. It's just it's a template. But later, your index will become much more complex. So what we can do next, I can show you some setups that I already got, or we can pause for a sec and discuss some other topics. Feel free to ask anything from me. So I'll just hold for a second so you will be able to ask me a question. But yeah, I'll double check. So now we see that in my cursor, I also have everything in place. So the product map agentic folder is set up. Any questions so far? No? Is it too technical for you? Just feel free to share your thoughts. It's basically the most efficient way how you can build things, but the next thing was to set up some different agents. So I can show you some tricks how I do that with multiple tools. We just need to think. Good news is that we've got some guides published on that, so you can find it on our website if you want. So here in the featured articles, there are some tutorials. If you need some materials, you will find how to set up everything by yourself with the screenshots. So yeah, just feel free to jump in. So many materials we put there because usually our users ask to put some tutorials and we're sharing it with them. So I'll show you the setup that basically helps to prepare the fundamental structure for different agents. How you can do that? I like Cursor because you can run multiple agents from here. And actually, the interface of the Cursor is very friendly. I like it. It has the same features that Claude Code or Codex. So basically, they're copying each other. And you're not missing anything if you're using Cursor. There is another setup that I want to show you. Do you know what it is at the bottom of my screen over here? Nobody? Yeah,
I don't see it because of the bar from Zoom.
sorry.
And
It's a
I
whisper
don't know if
flow.
it's you or me.
No, it's me. It's me, I believe. So it's a whisper flow. Actually, there are so many tools, and they've got voice interfaces. You can use all of them. So even the Condex has its own, I suppose. Yeah, it should be here. But what helps me that Whisper Flow is tuned for my spelling and also understands how I speak. So I can even share the promo code if something wants for a free month. But good news is that you're inputting with your voice. I've got tunnel syndrome. If you see, I don't want to type a lot because I just using my computer too fast. So I'll show you how the Vista Flow works. So you can voice input any information. Set up the Claude skill folder and Claude MT file for the future improvements and future structure of my Claude skills. Sorry, future improvements was the wrong message. So, and what actually will happen? So I'll run a simple one-shot prompt. It will set up the folders that were in my template for Claude and Claude MD file with a basic context. But good news is that when you're starting from scratch, it will start building the Claude settings file, which contains some basic permissions. For example, the permission to create new folders or writing and reading some files. So that's what happens at the beginning. I'm just allowing everything because I already know what's going to happen. And I want to show you another trick that I'm using a lot because I don't want agents to update anything from the beginning. I will create a simple prompt in a Cursor, but it will be for Codex. So it should be agents. Yeah, it should be called agents. And now instead of building that, I will plan it first. So what happens? I will create a plan, and instead of editing everything in my repository, so I see that it set up me a folder with the settings. So now all settings of my Claude will be stored here in this file. I want to build a plan first, and after that, I want to approve that. So I'll put here the simple story. Put a separate folder called .agents and separate file agents.md for codex setup. Oh, wait a sec. Agents.md file. Sometimes it glitches. What? And what happens next? So I believe that we will get the plan first, and after that, wait, why did you switch to the agent mode? I want to create plan first. Actually, it switched to the agent mode, so it will implement all changes first. Okay. We should create a more complex task. So let this agent finish, and I'll create a new one. Um, let's create a simple skill for the Claude. Call it product requirement document, and this skill should create a simple template for the requirement based on drafts that I'm sharing. Let's create the first skill. Yeah, so when the agent mod works, it actually changes everything in your repository. It's not the way how you actually want to implement some changes. Usually you build plan first, you review this plan, you change this plan, and after that you implement this plan. So it's actually the most efficient way how you can build some things in your repository. Because if you will spend a lot of time on updating files, you're consuming a lot of tokens. If you're updating plan, it will be easiest way how you can do that. So here's my plan, actually. So it outlined the prompt itself, what agent will do in order to, let's say, finish the task. And now we can see in this plan that there is a simple PRD template that was suggested by LLM. Next, if you want, you can update this template. If you need to put here some, let's say, analytics events that need to be added or something else, you're updating the plan, and after that, you're building it. And in terms of, let's say, preparation, that's the most efficient way. Again, you're working on plans and you're in the plan mode, and your context is not changing. Only when you build that, you will see some changes in your repository. Does it make any sense, guys? Yeah, now I see that the new skill appeared. Yeah, that's my product requirement skill. Now I can actually call for this skill. So if I use wait, not here. Product requirement document skill. Now I can draft my thoughts and it will create me some requirements. So that's my skill repository next to my context repository. So they all close to each other. Some teams putting their skills out of the main repository and keep them in a separate folder. So it also works. It's just question how big your repository will be. I'll give you an example how you can use different skills. Maybe you know about the website. It's called Skills.sh. Guys, anybody know about it? Just, I don't know, react somehow. Think I've got some skills here. There are so many skills available. If you want to copy them, if you want to reuse them, so many skills, maybe you want to copy first and after that update them. Looking the one from Dean Peters, I just love, I'm in touch with him and sometimes, where it is? I mean, it disappeared. Management, maybe management. Dean Peters. Can't find his skills. It's supposed to be in the top installs, but doesn't matter. So there is a one from Pavel Hurin. I don't like his skills actually, not the best ones, but you can copy them and install them in your repository. So I'll show you very quickly how you can do that. Just copy the npx instructions. It will require for npm. You can install it, but in general, it should work. And then all you're doing, you're selecting how you want to copy these skills, where you want to copy them. And actually, I already set up everything for myself. So I've got Claude installed. So I can just copy them to my Claude folder. So let's use Claude. Next, it asks, do you want to install it globally or locally in the project? Obviously, I would suggest to install it in a project because global skills, it's something which is stored on your local machine. So if you want to share these skills later, then it will be very hard to move them from local global to project. And yeah, next question is, do you want to link these skills or you want, let's say, copy to all existing agents that you already got? So you will have a copy between Claude and Codex. I will use symlink. So what it will allow me to do, change them in one place and reuse by other LLMs. So that's why it's called symlink. And yeah, I'll just proceed with the installation. So now I should have his skill over here and I see the Simulink. So let me close the terminal. We don't need it anymore. So now I see the skill in the agents folder. So it's the skill review resume. And I've got the Simlink, symbolic link in my Claude code. So every time when I'm changing something in the Claude code, I will see that my main file is updated. So it's like, components in Figma or where we've got some similar concepts when we change something and it's updated everywhere. So good news is that it's your skill. You can change that. You can prompt however you want. But sometimes when you want to start slow, when you want, sorry, start fast, then you just copy existing skills that are already published. So I've got my skills published here, but they are also in the template that I shared at the beginning. So in the repository that I shared. In this template, there are some skills that we published for the community. And again, if you want to use them and change them, why not? So the product requirement document is also like a skill that we put here with a structure that we basically use and other teams are using. So, long story short, that's an approach how you can build your skill repository close to your context repository. The next question, what skills and agents you can build? There are many approaches how people do that. I found personally that the most efficient approach is to avoid using MCPs and build something using APIs because it doesn't consume any tokens at all. So what skills allow you to do to integrate Python into your skill instructions, and you can actually launch Python straight from your skills instructions, and it will save you so many tokens. And every time when you're getting information from Notion and importing and exporting it, you're spending three times more tokens than just using it from the file locally. I did some measurements. I can share some results with you after the event, but the MCP itself spends 2 or 3 times tokens more on the formatting the data. You can use Notion API to export it and with 0 tokens and import it back if you need that. Do you keep Claude skills and Claude files in sync with agent skills and agent if they're equivalent from other AIs? That's a very good question. Actually, don't have very good answer. I keep Claude instructions separate because sometimes I want to put some specific instructions there. Um, Claude has different capabilities and they named differently. If you run web fetch, Claude will understand web fetch. Agents will not understand web fetch if you're running general AI model. So I usually create files for all AIs separate. So it will be another one called Gemini. I'm trying to avoid generic instructions because it's not the efficient way how you can use AI. That's why you put some instructions for each model separately. Agents, it's just the file that OpenAI uses, so it's weird. But everyone can access the agents.md file. Nothing wrong with it. But again, Gemini search and Claude Web Fetch completely different features. So you need to put some instructions how you want to use them, maybe some limits how you want to use them, and keep it very specific for each vendor. But George, actually, it's a good question. We've been debating a lot about that.
I have a, a comment to be made. I've seen from somebody a nice trick on that. So I was using Claude and Cursor, and what he has done in order, if you know that both of them should be exactly the same, if I'm in Claude, kind of that's the main one, Claude.md, it is the detailed.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm going to agents.md, it just says at Claude.md. And when the cursor gets into reading agents, okay, I need to read the Claude.md. But pay attention to what Matvey said. Make sure that the Claude.md, what it is written over there, is compatible with what would be in cursor. That it is one way to keep things in sync.
100%. Yep. So last thing, I think it will be just a complementary thing to everything what I showed. At Product Map, we've got multiple agents available for you. They all pre-configured. You can create your own agents and they are goal specific. But good news is that they all access the same repository that we set up. So, for example, using the context from your website, you can already define your ICP profile and you don't want to spend a lot of time on that. So you just run agent and it does everything for you. If you want to quick start, I would suggest trying that because maybe it will be a good draft for you. Depends on your website and what you're doing, but our agent suggests changes to your repository. You again can open the pull request and push directly to the main. All this information, they are coming from the materials that we've got in the product map. So usually we've got multiple topics published, so they're all available on our platform, very free to use. And when we publish the update on ideal customer profile, we put together multiple concepts, instructions, how you can create your ICP card, what components available should be available on ICP card, and some templates. So again, this information is free, and we supply agents in order to use these templates. And they actually can help you to brainstorm your ICP, suggest you some possible directions how you can explore multiple or target audiences. And yeah, everything what you need, you just open the pull request and you will see the same pull request in your repository, but from the product map agent. Should be with us in a few seconds. It's not there yet, but should be soon. Maybe it's somewhere. Good news is that all these changes will continue updating as soon as you're refining your updates. But there are many ways how you can do that. So you can push directly to the main. Again, what I would suggest to review changes from all agents, and maybe you don't want to spend a lot of time on that, but at the same time you still want to maintain your context up to date, because sometimes priorities changes, sometimes you need to spend some time to update your product strategy even if some business goals are changing. So then you will see changes and approve them if you like them, and when you squash them and merge, they will be available in your main branch over here. So again, very simple demo, but everything what we've got here stored locally. I can also add everything what we did. I actually don't want to put any anything outside this commit. I'll generate some changes, the message commit change, and push everything what we did to the repo. So now it should be there. What's happened? Ah, okay. I didn't pull the updates. All right. We'll do that. Yes, that's why sometimes you need to know how Git works. So yeah, I've got a conflict. Now I need to resolve the conflict. That's fine. That happens. Good news is that you can always ask your agents to fix that. So you can ask, let me show you an example. You don't want to do it manually. So pull changes from main and push latest local changes. So it actually will resolve the conflict that appeared. So it will pull and rebase the commit. So my new commit will be on top of the existing commit in main. So, but keep an eye on working with Git when you do it with the agent. Sometimes it asks for very weird stuff. But good news that it found a commit that I did. It found the previous commit. So now everything should be fine. Yeah, all resolved. That's my commit with the codex setup, Claude, and everything. That's actually all from me. I don't know, guys. Do you want to? Oh, I see the question from the Tudor. Do you manage to do work by using only the Pro subscription with around 20 USD euro per month? It seems like that. True. So I've got Cursor subscription, the basic one. For Codex, I also don't need the complex one. I've got the basic one, so $20 plus $20. I've got Cursor, which costs, oh, I've got Claude, which costs 50, I suppose. Maybe pounds, not bucks, doesn't matter. So again, 90 in total approximately, and Gemini. But actually, I disabled it for a month. So right now I logged off because I'm not using a lot Gemini this month, and I'll continue that later when I will need some search capabilities. I actually like how Gemini searches. Yeah, I do everything with basic subscriptions because I'm a maniac. I'm optimizing tokens as much as I can. I don't want to consume tokens a lot. I know some companies they've got budget up to $3,000 per user per month, but it's not something that I can afford. I mean, I can afford that. I just don't want to spend time and my money on running a lot of agents. And if you're actually consuming more tokens, it means that you're waiting more, your agents are slower. So that's why optimizing your requests actually is not a bad idea. So you will get results faster.
On my side, Tudor, is I switched to Claude Max 100. Um, but I'm not reaching the limits over there. So all the time, sometimes I was wondering if I should switch back to Pro. But I know that I have instances when I'm getting over, I would get over there. So it's um, but I'm using mainly one tool. I'm not switching in between. Claude is my main driver. And I know that Claude is consuming more tokens than, for example, that would be in Codex.
100%. I would say that sometimes the simple composer model, which actually it's a Chinese Qwen model under the hood, actually works faster and better for small tasks. If I don't have a very complex task, I will use simple model from Cursor because it's fast and cheap. And actually, it's very hard to consume all limits from the composer. So selecting the model is also a tool. So for example, again, Gemini search is better. It's a fact because it's a Google model. So if you want to search through the internet, Gemini works better. Codex works well for non-technical tasks. So that's why sometimes it's also a good idea to try Codex for some maybe writing, experimenting, and so on. And Codex builds very good dashboards. I think they put some very specific instructions for building analytical dashboards. They actually looks good, and I'm using Codex when I need to build the visualization screen. But Claude also great. I mean, you can do everything with a Claude. It's more a question about the final result and how many attempts you will spend on that, and so on. Have you tried to use local LLMs for the same workflows? Uh, Good question. We tried some of them for product map in order to fine tune our models. I didn't have any let's say use case where I need to use them locally. I tried once when I've been traveling and my internet was unstable, but everything else, I don't need that. But we tried long time ago. It never was in my day-to-day setup. Eddie, you?
I think it is on the local model. It's a good discussion in here. People are lured by the idea of having it local, but in order to run something that it is, let's say that GLM, yeah, 5.2, which is kind of the open source, and everybody's saying that it is at the same level as with Opus 4.8.
Mhm.
In order to have that one running on your machine, I think the people are saying that you need to invest about 50 to $60,000 in order to have a machine capable of running that model. So
True.
if you are talking about running a local model, you're talking about a very small model. You're talking even a small model, you need a proper machine with a lot of RAM and with fast GPU. So you're talking about thousands. So let's say that if I'm using my Mac, which is an M1 Pro with 32 gigabytes, I can run only very small models. Even if I'm getting a 5 or M5 with max with 128 gigabytes, which would cost me about £6,000, I would still run a way shittier model than you would have it with Claude or with. So it is at the moment, it is a fake uh, uh, saving that you would say. That's my view on the models. If you want something really smart, local models are not the way to go. It's way too expensive to run locally.
100%. I tried Qwen light models, and I actually didn't find any use case why I need to use that. So that's why I would support what Eddie said. So it looks like you need to understand why you need local LLM. So what will be the main advantage, and maybe you just don't need that. All right, so I'll stop sharing because I don't have anything to show. We've got a few questions. So what do you use to make prototypes? I use Claude Code plus design system made in Claude Design, but I'm curious what you're all using. It's not a bad setup. Again, depends on your cases. Actually, sometimes when I need a quick prototype, I just use Figma Make and it works good. So they're improving their agents if I need a picture, right? So if you don't need to work, let's say, real workable prototype, when it comes to the tool itself, yeah, I use Codex for everything that should look like a dashboard. So, for example, we've got a weekly cohorts analysis, we've got some integrations with the amplitude and other analytical tools, and I want to build my custom dashboard, so that's why I'm using Codex for the coding itself. So when I want to build a working prototype of the product, right? So I mean, product like prototypes. I'm using Claude, or sometimes I'm using Composer as a fast model if it's not a big task. But if it's a complex task, I prepare the prompt, which is PRD, for before doing the implementation. I review the plan, and after that, I see the plan, I build the plan, and that's how I build prototypes. Claude Design also great when you need a HTML or I don't know a picture, so also works well. I tried it when it was just launched and it was a crap, complete crap. Now it works like amazing, and it becomes a very cool design tool. Eddie, I see that people saying thanks and leaving, so it means that we can
Yeah.
wrap up the session, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's kind of the end. We are already 4 minutes over time. Are there any other questions from the? You don't need to write them down. Just ask.
So, guys, you've got my contacts. Feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. I even exist in the Slack community. I'm trying to reply there. So feel free to direct message me. I'm trying to reply to everyone who reaching out to me. Check the product map. We've got many cool things there. So maybe you will find something interesting to you. I did this event mostly around the demonstration of different techniques and things, what we've got and other teams are doing. If you've got any questions, feel free to reach out. We're always happy to connect with product makers community members.
Thank you very much, Matvey, for the time and for all the information that you shared with us. We are going to follow up with we're going to put the recording on YouTube. We're going to follow up on Luma with the link.
And thanks for organizing it. Actually, I think very well done. Music is amazing at the beginning, so happy to be here today.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a lovely weekend. Have a cool weekend.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thanks so much.